Now that the dog's here and it's in safe hands, and the thunder's stopped, let's continue, and we can have a bit of a laugh every now and again. If it starts peeing in Brian's lap, we can definitely have a bit of a laugh. Okay. So we're talking about poetry. You've got your drafts happening, but just one last look at the 5 different things that you need to include to get an A. Okay, and how to set up your first paragraph and your introduction. Just in case you're a little bit lost as to how to structure it. So can we get this please? The number one thing is make sure you're talking about big ideas and concepts. Okay, and then you want to use that metaphor speak again. Okay. Thirdly, you need to include your introductory information. So don't go straight into the poem without saying who the poets are and what the poems are called and what they're about. Of course, you need to have complex sentence structures, and I'll go into a little bit of that, and we'll see some examples here. We also want to use language that starts from the poet. Talking about the poet. Talk about the poet. Again, talk about the poet. Okay? Don't simply leave it at the poem tries to. The poem's not alive! So you can't just keep saying, the poem is trying to, it's the poet who's doing it and it's their piece of art. Let's have a look at the introduction. Let's go. Thanks. Poetry is often about transporting the reader to another place. But more often than that, poems have the power to take us on a journey of discovery into the intimate place where the author's mind and experience meld together. What have we done here? We've actually done a general comment, a big picture comment. Okay? By the way, can you see how there are some big concepts here? The transporting of people's ideas and feelings takes us on a journey of discovery, an intimate place where the author's mind and experience meld together. So we're already talking about not just the physical stuff about the poem, what's happening in the poem, but we're talking about someone's ideas being transferred into their poem, and they're drawing the audience in. Let's continue. So here it is. This fits the third point, introductory information. You must do this. Neil Rollinson's poem about a game. Neil Rollinson's poem about a game deciding penalty shot. Already in one sentence I've described who the author is, the penalty, I've mentioned the poem, and I've described what it was about. Notice I didn't do 3 separate sentences. I didn't say Neil Rollinson has written a poem called The Penalty, and I don't separate that with it's about ... You can be more fluent using complex sentence structures like this. The poem is about a game. Let's read it again. Neil Rollinson's poem about a game deciding penalty shot. The penalty. Edward Weissmiller's Seahorse, a poem about a mail order seahorse. Notice the commas there to bring that extra information in. And Relativity, a poem about a dog's perspective of the car ride, are all poems which invite the reader to experience unique journeys of discovery. Now wait there, you're only doing 2 poems, alright? Does that tick the box? Introductory information, make sure you've done that. Okay. So what would be the next thing to describe? This is an analysis, poetry analysis, so you need to talk about techniques. Let's see if this introduction does that. Are you getting wet there because the dog's shaking its fur? Okay, let's keep going. Rollinson is a master craftsman of tension and suspense. The big ideas are coming back already. Artfully describing the suffocating nausea of a game-deciding penalty shot, which, so these are all your different structures you can use, okay? Which eventually bursts into wild rapture. Have I used complex sentence structures? Yes, I have. Have I talked about the poet and not just about the poem? Yes, I have. Can everyone tell me, how do you refer to the poet mostly in your poem?
By last name.
By last name. And you can sometimes put his or her or etc. Weissmiller's plays. Weissmiller plays with the idea of misconceptions and childlike perspective to make a striking but solemn comment on the futility of a seahorse's journey across the Atlantic. Wait, I've described what the poem's about again. but I'm talking about big picture stuff. I'm talking about the ideas and concepts. The word futility, anything that ends with Y, like possibility, futility, they're kind of good concept type words, so think about those. Have I got any ION words so far?
Misconception.
Tension. Misconception, where's that one? Thank you. These are your larger type concept words, so make sure you're using those as well. So that ticks the boxes here, ION form, nominalization, as well as the Y, like futility, possibility, those sort of things. Okay, Hart-Smith's poem is most playful and original in its exploration of language and perspective, of science and poetry, of the difference between simplistic childlike logic and uplifting imaginative experience. Here's another way to pick out the big concept words, ENCE. If you get confused, think about my name, Lawrence. Ends with ENCE. Don't know why that's relevant, but it just helps you to remember. ENCE, the difference, experience, and so on. Well, what does this tick the boxes for? What sort of things has this covered? Okay. Alright. Again, it's talking about the poet. I've seen a couple of drafts where people are talking mostly about the poem, like as if the poem's alive and it's trying to do something. It's not doing anything. It's the poet who's trying to do who's actually active in this, and the poem is the medium by which they do communicate their message. Alright, has that covered pretty much what you need to do? A general big picture comment at the beginning, then follow on with your, does this tick all the boxes? Let's have a look at the poem. It starts with a general big picture comment to bring the audience into the picture about what you're on about. It goes into the details. In the whole one sentence, I've mentioned 3 poets, 3 poems, and mentioned what each poem is about. Can I do that without using complex sentence structures? Probably not. So have a look at how it's done. Okay. It also ticks the boxes because I've used concept words and I've talked about, the experience, the feelings, the mind, what's happening in the mind. Okay, and used metaphor speak. Where are they? So the journey of discovery. Okay. You've got another journey of discovery. I might have overdone it, but that's okay. Okay. And so on. Let's have a look at the next picture. So even though this is not an introduction, this is the first paragraph. It's paragraph 1. It still needs to cover a lot of this information. The only thing you probably don't need to do is your introductory info. But in its place, you will definitely have some kind of topic sentence. That's a definite. You need to have a topic sentence at the beginning and some kind of concluding sentence. So have a look at this. Big pictures. The big ideas, the concepts, use the metaphor speak if possible without overdoing it. Talk about the poet and look at your complex sentence structures. Okay. I'm going to go straight into complex sentence structures. Have a look for an ing form. It's like a present participle.
Something.
Sorry again?
Something.
No, not that kind of ing, but for a verb. Okay, I know there was one in the introduction. Probably have to come back to it in a moment. Alright, let's come back to that. So, let's read it. All 3 poems are invitations to enter into another world, to experience a life captured in a moment of time, seen from the eyes of someone or something else. So we've got the ENC word, the ION word, a bit of metaphor speak. It's another world we're drawing being drawn in. Captured into, let's keep going. The journey the reader embarks upon is also the journey the poet has already made. They're sharing their experience, okay? So, and it is the sharing of that experience that has become the goal of the artist. Rawlinson, let's stop there. This is your general big picture. It's your topic sentence, okay? That's going to get you an A because you're not talking only about the specifics, but trying to link everything together from big concepts. Next sentence, Rollinson has been able to transport himself into the moment before the final penalty shot. We often use these commas to further explain what you've just mentioned here. Okay? So this moment before the final penalty shot is explained further by putting a comma. An experience reserved only for the professional athlete whose teammates may end up sinking to their knees in the grass. Now I've used two strokes, two slashes, forward slashes, but you might want to use one for a new line. But please remember to put those in, and I've referenced it here. Sinking to their knees in the grass. Or if all goes well, whose spectators, the crowd, may end up going wild, rising in a wave. So again, we just quoted a few things behind the goal and put the line break there. Weissmuller, on the other hand, has devoted his attention to contemplation of the sad but barely recognisable tragedy of a seahorse, which gradually dies after being ordered by children. Okay. Now here is the ing form coming into play here. At the same time, he explores how the childlike perspectives can cloud reality and lead to misconceptions, which can lead to unintended but tragic consequences, however well-intentioned. The opening stanza begins this journey with a playful and imaginative exploration of a possible misconception of the word seahorse. And then you bring in your evidence, quote. A lot of you brought in the whole poem. You can do that, but you really need to just quote sections that are most relevant. Okay? So here I go. So I'll read this. So then you quote, you can use the colon and continue on, or you could use a new line if it's longer and just have it in its own little paragraph. You might think it would leap the waves in a white fire of foam, racing eyes mad with what might be delight. Okay? So there I've quoted the poem line there. By the end of the poem, though, Weissmuller allows us to see that the end product of this chain reaction, started by the money-making schemes which have seduced children to order the seahorse, only ends in a senseless waste of life. Notice how many times we use the word to between two verbs. So allows us to see. Can anyone pick out another one here? Can lead... No, that's not one.
Attempt to document.
Up here?
No, down.
Okay, let's do this one. Can lead to unintended but tragic. Although that's not... I'm looking for two verbs. Which one?
I said attempt to document what something called.
Okay, let's keep reading then. Seduce the children to order. Yeah. Relativity is also a playful look at language. It is an attempt to document. There you go. It's an attempt to document. So these kind of words, we've got a to in the middle and two verbs, are very useful. Let's start again. So it is an attempt to document what a simple car ride would be like from the perspective of a dog. The journey is revealed in layers that gradually give way to a triumphant and exhilarating passage made up of the last three stanzas where the dog's experience is portrayed in all its glory. I'll leave it there. You get the idea. It continues on. Wait, don't stop. But they're the main topics. They're the main key points you need to remember when you talk about your essay. I hope that's explained a little bit about how it should be put together.